Can anybody guess what today's message is? We've just done 3 songs about the same thing. Fear. Fear is a liar. Let's just start with a quick prayer. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Well, we start the beginning of another year. We started slightly smaller than we started last year. And I could be thinking, well, I should be afraid that things are not going to go right. But God's given me an assurance that things are going to be as He expects them to be. And so what I decided to do was put into words what God had shown me. So, to make it easier, I thought the first thing I need to do is explain to you what fear is. Because we've all felt fear at some point in our lives. Okay? Even a moment ago, just before I come to the front, there's a moment of fear. Not a big moment, but a small moment. So this is what fear is. An unpleasant emotion. I don't want to do that. A feeling of anxiety. Is it going to go well? A feeling of dread and reverence. So I would put that in there's something bigger and more powerful than it. Afraid of someone or something that's likely to be dangerous, painful or harmful. And it says avoid doing something because one is afraid. That's what fear is, when you avoid doing something because you're afraid of the consequences. And another one is regret. They're all dictionary definitions of what fear is. Okay? I also found out that there's 2 ways that you express fear. One is physically and one is emotionally. Now the way to express physical fear tends to be this. It says dilated pupils, but to be honest I've never looked at that, oh I must get a mirror and see. And if somebody's frightened, I don't really look at their eyes and think, I wonder if that's how they normally look. But I will tell you this is a physical manifestation of fear. Dry mouth. My mouth dries up. Shortness of breath, sweating, trembling or shaking, nausea, headaches, increased heart rate, which can actually lead to a heart attack. Now I'm sure all of us at some point in our lives have felt fear over something. Fear even just walking through the door of a place you don't know. We've all had it. A physical symptom. I get headache if I don't want to do something because I'm worried about it. And then there's the emotional side. Now I'm only going to name a couple because when it comes to fear, we can be afraid of everything. We can be afraid of chairs, we can be afraid of carpet, we can be afraid of anything. People have got all sorts of phobias and fears. But here are the 3 common ones. The first one is called a tachyphobia. It means fear of failure. Fear of failure. Now these are the people that are never really going to try and do anything because they're just too worried that they're not going to be good enough. So they never step out and do it. They never put their hand up and say, I'll give that a go. Fear of change is called metathesiophobia. Fear of change. I like things the way they are. I see it so many times, especially with Christian groups, where they go, actually I like things the way they are. Let's not change it. Well, you can see we're quite easy. We'll change this. This is not how it was set up last week. We set it up differently. I'm quite happy to change things. So I don't really have a fear of change. And another one is a telephobia. That's fear of not being good enough. Fear of not being good enough. I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. Whatever you do in life, you will always find a point where you think, I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. Jake can play the guitar very nicely. But I bet there's moments when you're in a group of people and they're playing guitar and you think, I could never be as good as that. I'm just going to sit in a corner quietly. Because there's always that fear of not being quite good enough. We all have it. And then I like this one, it's my favourite one. There's phobophobia. That's fear of fear itself. People can be frightened of being afraid. Phobophobia. I like that. So, fear. Physical and emotional. We don't like doing things. Our mouths dry up, we get headaches. We try and get out of things. We never put our hand up. We're always afraid that we're just not going to be good enough. Well, having discussed what this is, what fear is, what the physical and the emotional sides of fear, and they're more emotional than that. There are all sorts of fears. What types of fear are there? Well, I'm going to use 3 today. I'm going to talk about bad fear, good fear, and fear of God. Okay? Bad fear, good fear, fear of God. Fear, which is bad. Well, Galatians 5 says this: the acts of the sinful nature are obvious. Sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. And so, well, what's that got to do with fear? I'm going to suggest that a lot of these things that I've just read there are going on in the world today, and in probably our lives in some degree or another. Why? Because we live in fear. We live in fear of this. There's actually a word for it now. They call it FOMO, fear of missing out. So it's fear of missing out. That's what we have. So when society says it's okay to do this, we go, oh, well, I don't want to be the only person that's not doing that. So when I read the list off there, and you go, well, how does fear lead to this? Well, it's dead simple. When you're young, you have peer pressure. So I'm going to use drunkenness as an example. So your friends go out and drink, and you think, well, now I'm going to go and drink. And your friends start to smoke, you think, well, I'm going to smoke because I don't want to be left out. And then they start doing drugs and all the rest of the things, and you think, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to, if they sleep around, I'm going to sleep around. Because there's a fear of standing out from the crowd. Okay? There's a fear that you're not good enough, so you've got to do what they do. When I was younger, it's a lot different now. Styles, you can wear anything you want and styles are fine. But when I was younger, if you didn't have this type of shoe, you were looked down on. You were looked down on. If you didn't wear this particular school jacket, oh, you were looked down on. You were looked down on. So there was always a fear that people are going to think I'm not good enough. So you would go along with what they did. And I did exactly the same thing. If my friends said we're not going to go to school today, I thought, well, I don't want to miss out on that, because they still say things like, oh, we're going to go and do this and we're going to throw stones in the pond. You think, that sounds so good. I don't want to miss out on that. One of my favourite examples is fear of missing out. You can go to as many Christian meetings as you want, but the best one in the world is the one that you didn't go to. And everybody goes, oh, you should have been there. You should have been there. It was amazing. And you go, oh, I missed that. I missed that. We all have that element of fear, which causes us to do things and go along with the crowd. We go along with the masses. We've all done it. I'm going to tell you a story. Some of you might have heard this. I have a daughter. Perhaps we shouldn't record this bit. I have a daughter, and she's, it doesn't matter what she's called. She'll know who she is. And when she was little, we decided, well, we're going to take each of my kids out and we're going to do something special with them. Because I have 4 kids, so we're going to take this one out. Now, it didn't work out, we only did it the once because it just never worked out right. And it didn't work out because my daughter, we said, oh, you 3 kids, you're going to go to your nan's, and your nan's going to bring some sweets, and you can just colour and do whatever it is you do with your nan. And what we planned on doing was to take her to Trafford Centre, because she was my oldest, and just get her whatever she wanted. If she walked into a shop and went, I want this, we would go, well, you can have that. And if you walked into this shop and went, I want this, you can have that. We were really going to spoil her. But we were doing it as a surprise, so we never told her what we were doing. We were just going to take her and do this. Now, what she did is, she realised there's 3 kids here and they're going to have a bag of sweets and some colouring books. So she went, no, I don't want to come. I don't want to come. I'm like, no, come with us, we've got this, you're going to really, no. She was so frightened of missing out on the sweets that she missed out on the greater stuff. She missed out on the greater prize. And what we did instead is we took my son and we did the same for him. And he came back with a watch and some other stuff, literally just whatever you want. And she wasn't happy then. It was like, well, when are you doing this for me? And it's like, no, you don't understand. That was your opportunity. But we never did it for the other kids, did we? Because it obviously doesn't work. Because there's always a fear that somebody's getting better than you, more than you. Theirs is better. Okay? We do it all the time. We like to think that we're better than we are, that we're more knowledgeable. And we do that because we have a fear of failure. Remember what the word for fear of failure, tachyphobia, fear of failure. I'm going to tell you a story now. This also relates to fear in one sense, and I'll explain later. It's about a student who was decided to show that people were being conditioned by the surroundings and the things that were being said. Not by knowledge, not by understanding, but by what was being said. So he decided to, for his science project, that what he was going to do, he was going to get a petition up, and he was going to get, it says he was urging people to sign this petition, and it says he was demanding strict control or total elimination of the chemical dihydrogen monoxide. He said we need to get this, and he wanted to see how many people would sign his petition. And there were plenty of reasons why you should get rid of this dihydrogen monoxide, and here's some of them. Apparently, if you get it on your brake drums, it decreases the effectiveness of your car brakes. And you think, well, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. But then it goes on to list the other symptoms. It can cause excessive sweating and vomiting. It's a major component in acid rain. Okay? It can cause severe burns in its gaseous state. An accidental inhalation can kill you. It's been found in 100% of cancer patients. 100% of cancer patients have got this chemical in. Okay? And everyone who's exposed to it will suffer some sort of sickness at some point in their lives. And the thing is, it's colourless and odourless. So he's getting people to sign a petition saying we need to ban this chemical. People not wanting to appear stupid. 43% of people signed it. 6% said we don't know anything about it. And only one person said, you're joking, aren't you? See, the thing is, the name of his science project, when he revealed it, was called How Gullible Are You? How Gullible Are You? You see, the thing is, a dihydrogen monoxide, whilst it will do all those things that I've told you, is simply water. It will do all of those things because it's just water. You see, fear of being ignorant is a big thing. Fear of being seen to look stupid. And we will, for that sake, go along with the majority. It's how con men work. You've heard of the 3-card trick where they get the cards and they go find a lady and they shuffle them and they go, ooh. And there's always the one that does the cards, and there's always people there that are working alongside him to get you to think that what you're doing is the right thing. So you'll bet your money, bet your money, bet your money. You don't want to appear stupid, so you'll go along with it. Romans says this, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man, and birds, and animals, and reptiles. Why? They did not want to look stupid. When Moses went up on the mountain and somebody said, let's build a golden calf, and everybody went, yes, and they were partying and celebration because they did not want to look like they didn't know what they were doing. There was a fear in them, a fear that they were doing the wrong thing, waiting for Moses. Oh, he's been gone 40 days. Let's just abandon that. Let's go with something else. Fear that you're alone. Fear that you need something else. Here's the problem. William Gurnall says we fear men so much because we fear God so little. We fear men so much because we fear God so little. There is no fear of God. But we fear men. We fear all sorts of things. I have a fear because I grew up in a very poor household. I have fear of not having enough money in my pocket. I haven't a penny on me now because I know I'm not going to go to the shop. But if Krista said to me, and I wouldn't do it because it's Sunday, but if Krista said to me, look, go and buy a loaf of bread, I wouldn't go and buy a loaf of bread unless I've got probably £50 in my pocket. Because I've faced that moment where you get to the counter and you don't have the money. I've had that fear, so that is a fear that I have. Now I can work through it now, so I don't have to have money in my pocket. But when we go anywhere, my first question is always, have you got the card? To Krista. Because I have a fear of having nothing. A lot of us have a fear that somebody's more prosperous than we are. That they have more power and more authority than we have. It's a fear. And then when we do get some prosperity and some wealth, we have another one. We have a fear of being found out. Because we never feel like, well, we've done it properly. There's always that fear, well, how have I got to this point? What have I done? Was it me? See, fear leads to greater fear. A small fear, if left unattended, will become a big fear, and a big fear. There's always that moment, and I say this all the time, we have a problem, generally, we're frightened something's going wrong, but we speak to somebody close to us, and just speaking to them, the problem just seems to shrink. We answer our own questions, we solve our own problems, but yet we can sit there with them in the same thoughts going around in our head and just get more and more fearful, more and more afraid of what's going on, and then you speak to somebody and you think, oh yeah, it's dead easy that. Fear leads to sin. It's as simple as that. Fear leads to sin, because you will do things to cover your tracks. You will tell lies so that you don't look stupid. Fear leads to sin. Whatever you're afraid of will lead you to sin. If you're afraid of the dark, and you're in a group of friends, and they go, oh, he's afraid of the dark, you'll go, oh no. Well done. You've just lied. You've just lied. You've just committed a sin. It's as simple as that. Fear will lead you to sin. There's a saying that the love of the money is the root of all evil. Well, the love of money is a very dangerous thing. But I think fear is a greater sin. A greater thing. A closer root to all evil. Because the devil, we saw that song. Fear is a liar. He tells you everything that's bad about you. He tells you you're not good looking enough. You're not rich enough. I resist the urge when I get the fear and God says you're not when people say, you know, you're not thin enough. I go, do you know, I don't care. I am what God made me. I have no fear about that. I hate it when I see these posters and you see these people and they look so beautiful. And then I see people coming into my shop and they're trying to emulate that. That's not because they've got this thing that they want to be the most beautiful person in the world. They're frightened that woman is the one that all men want and not them. But they don't. Men don't want that. What men want is real people. Honest people. Truthful people. And yet girls and some men have a fear that they're not adequate, that something about them has to change. 100% of women in a survey would say, I would change something about myself. I would change something about myself. Now they don't do it with men because, I'll tell you now, their fear leads straight to sin. Because they go, no, I'm fine the way I am. But deep down, they're just like the women. There's something we want to change. There's something we want to change. Fear leads to sin. And sin leads to death. For the wages of sin is death. Trust me. If you let fear in, then you're going to start drawing down those wages straight away. If you start being afraid of things, then you're already drawing down on the wages of sin. Because you will lie, you will cheat, you will do things that you're embarrassed by and that you wouldn't own up to. You will draw straight on the wages of sin. Luke 12 says this, I tell you, my friends, this is Jesus talking now. I tell you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body and after that can do no more. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who, after the killing of the body, has power to throw you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. If somebody comes to take my life, they can take it once. I have no fear of that because I know where I'm going. I have no fear. I know where my place is. But I know that they can only kill me once, physically. Physically, one death. That's all they can take from me. Spiritually, I can die 1,000 times. I can die 1,000 times. I can die 1,000 times with the same lie. No, I'm not afraid of the darkness. I'm not afraid of the darkness, by the way. No, I'm not afraid of the darkness. No, I'm not afraid of the darkness. No, I'm not afraid of the darkness. That one lie will be a continuation. You can die 1,000 times with that one sin. And then there's a sin that's even worse for me. That's the secret sin. Don't have any secrets from one another. We can pray for people. If you've got something wrong, we can pray for you. We can pray that it gets better. And if it's God's will, it will get better. It will be better. But don't hold it in. You see, that secret sin, using this analogy again of the darkness, that's your secret sin. You've got to keep that pretense up. Until finally, in many years later, when you get to middle age and your friends are all gathered around and you go, oh, remember when we said you were afraid of the dark? And you can finally go, you know what, I'm not going to let this enslave me. I'm going to kick this off. Yes, I am afraid of the dark. Well done. You've owned up to it. Don't let it enslave you. A slow descent into mental anguish. That's what secret sin is. If you're a drunkard, no, it's an obvious thing. If it's sexual immorality, it's an obvious thing. If it's envy, it's an obvious thing. People say, you can see that straight away. It's just envy. But it hurts you more than it hurts them. The pain and anguish you feel. Anguish simply means severe mental or physical pain or suffering. Secret sin eats away from the inside. Never tell lies. Never tell lies. Never be afraid to just tell the truth. If you want to know anything about me, I will tell you. I will tell you the truth. Okay? When I was young, my mum said to me, never tell lies because you've got to have a really good memory. Because if you've not got a good memory, you will be found out. And then you will be branded as a liar. So even if you tell the truth, it's like the boy that cried wolf. It's never going to be believed. Okay? Now I'm not clever enough to weave a web of deceit. So you ask me a question and I'll tell you the answer. I may try and lessen it because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I won't tell you a lie. But I have to put in brackets on my notes here. I always tell the truth as far as I remember it. I'm old now, so some of my stories blend one into another. Some of my stories are not exactly how I remember them, but if I'm misleading you, it's not. It's not intentional. Okay? I have no fear on that score. I better move on quickly, haven't I? I'm sorry. Fear which is good. Good fear. Good fear. Okay? Well, good fear is that fear which keeps us in a safe place. It says, you know, if you don't want to die physically, don't get in the cage with the tiger. Okay? Don't get in the cage with the tiger. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to fall off a mountain, don't go up a mountain. That's a good fear. A good fear. Okay? If you don't like driving in snow, don't drive in snow. I don't mind any of these things. I mean, I'll pull the tail of a tiger. But I'll tell you what, I can pull it 99 times, and this is where fear tells you lies. This is where bad fear will say, well, everybody else is doing it, you better pull the tail of the tiger. Trust me, 99 times out of 100 you might get away with it. But the one time you don't, you are not going to survive. Don't do what they're doing. Drive in the snow. Oops, follow the right path. Fear is what makes us choose the right paths. I watch films, I honestly, it frustrates me. Crystal likes horror films, and it's like, oh, we've got a brightly lit corridor, and here's a dark one with no lights in it. Which one shall we go down? And I'm like, go down the one with the lights on. And they go, oh no, we've got to go down this one and see what's down here. And I'm like, no, Because fear tells me there's not good things out there. Good out that one where it's well lit. That's good fear. It's good to have a sense of danger, a foreboding. It points out where the danger is. I have a brother, and when he was little, he has no sense of fear. He can't recognise danger if it hit him with well, to be honest, it probably has hit him. I would say he was about 8, 9. We went to the park and I'm like, do you want me to push you on your swing? I think I'd be in my late 20s then, wouldn't I? Do you want me to push you on the swing? He went, no, it's okay. He started to swing, and the swing went all the way up. He had no sense of danger. And then when it got to this point here, and he went up, he just let go and backflipped, landed, and the swing went, you know. I went, wow! He landed on his face. I said, who taught you that? This is where he has no fear. He said, oh, I just thought one day, I wonder if I could land if I let go of the swing. And that's what he did. He got to its highest point, let go, did a backflip, landed. He has no sense of fear. Now, fear to me says, if you're on a swing, don't let go. Keep hold. And if you are going to learn a trick, have somebody there to walk you through it. Don't just decide, I'll get to the highest point and let go. Fear can be a good thing. Fear can be learned socially or by direct experience. Now, I'm not necessarily saying these are good things, but if you're at war with another country, then fear would dictate to me, don't go to that other country. Okay? But society also puts fears on you. But you don't need them. But it does put fears on you. Do you know what a xenophobe is? So, I've got one, yes. It's a prejudice against people from other countries. What was that man saying in my shop the other day? Oh, don't talk to me about France, I hate the French. That's xenophobe. Not a type of person, but from a specific country. I don't like the French. Okay? There's ethnic and racist fears. Society will tell you you should fear this person or that person or these people. Why? You should take everybody at face value, I think, and deal with them as they need to be dealt with. Not go, oh well they're the wrong colour, or, you know, or the wrong religion, or whatever, or they're French. Society tells us that we should be fearful of certain things. But we shouldn't be. Because society makes us fearful of people. And then we sin because we make jokes about those people. But like in England, we particularly like to make fun. No, sorry, Germany likes to make fun of the Polish. Hungarians joke about the Scottish. Why would the Hungarians joke about the Scottish? Spanish joke about the French people. Why? Because there's a fear in society that says we should make fun of these people because they're to be feared. Not that they're going to do us violence, but they might be doing us economically down. And then we have the direct experience. Fear from direct experience. Fear of choking. I've done that. Fear of falling. I have definitely done that. Fear of drowning. Well, trust me, I don't like swimming, so every time I go in a swimming pool I feel like I'm drowning. Fear of fire. That's reasonable, that to me. Fear of your house burning down. Don't put your hand in the fire. And here's my personal favourite. Fear of knives. Okay? I have this philosophy that says, if you grab hold of a blade firmly, it's less likely to do damage than if you're so frightened of it that you grab it tentatively. Grab it firmly. Same with anything. Anything that you're frightened of, grab it firmly. Don't try and, ooh. Now I have experience of that, because in my life I've been stabbed a number of times. Mainly myself. Because my kids were doing something and I had a fear that they were going to stab themselves. So to demonstrate what they shouldn't do, I then proceeded to accidentally stab myself. Now I wish I could say that was a big learning experience, but apparently not. Apparently it's a repeatable offence, is stabbing yourself to show your kids. See, I've got 4 kids, so you have to demonstrate 4 times. Okay? So, stab wounds in my belly and in my leg, which I'm thankful for it was my leg. Okay? See, the thing is, fear cuts deeper than any blade can. It can affect our lives in so many ways. I won't go there. Fear of crossing rope bridges. Fear of, you know, they limit life. Fear of going on a bus or a train. Fear robs us of God. Okay. I'm going to have to fire on a bit here. Otherwise we're going to miss something, miss stuff. Okay? So, Thomas Brown says, I fear God, yet I am not afraid of him. We're going to move on to the fear of God. Okay? If you know God, you have no fear. Or you shouldn't have no fear. You should be bold and courageous. I think in Joshua it says, be strong and courageous. Because the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So, what do? Be strong and courageous. Stop fearing things. You're stronger than you think. You've got more courage than you know. Okay? Fear of God. What is it? Well, the NIV says fear God. King James Version says fear God. And the Amplifier says fear God. How? Revere and worship him. That's the fear you should have for God. Not fright to death that he's going to kill you, though he can do. But a reverential fear. He's more powerful than you. I have a lot of reverential fear for elephants, because I know if it came to who can stand on who, they would win. And it's the same with God. That's the fear we should have with God. That he is all powerful and he has the ability to remove every breath that we breathe in one go. Okay? At the end of Ecclesiastes, meaningless, everything's meaningless. What's the point? What's the point? And then the last phrase says this. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Bearing in mind that meaningless is a big phrase there. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden things. No secret fears, no secrets from God. You only have one duty. What is it? Keep his commandments. That's the whole duty. Nothing will be hidden. Okay? It says in Psalms, it says, but the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those whose hope is in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and to keep them alive in famine. Right now we live in a world which says you're going to have enough food, you're going to have enough heat, you're going to have enough petrol for your car. Don't worry, God will provide. All you've got to do is keep your eyes fixed on God, not to the right nor to the left. Deuteronomy says, fear the Lord your God, serve him only and take your oaths in his name. Well, I would say, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't follow the gods of the people around you. For the Lord your God who is among you is a jealous God, and his anger will burn against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the land. Don't do other gods that the people around you have. I speak to a lot of people in my shop, and most people are frightened of something. The world, things that are going on in the world right now. And yet they're still their gods. Money is still their God. Possessions are still their God. They're so frightened of losing what they've got. Don't be like them. Don't be persuaded that the world's a morally correct place. God sets the standard, not man. Proverbs 1:7, I'm reading from the Amplified. The reverent fear of the Lord, that is, worshipping him and regarding him as truly awesome, is the beginning and the preeminent part of knowledge, its starting point and its essence. But arrogant fools despise wisdom and instruction and self-discipline. Regard him as truly awesome. My brother moved to America and he came back and he used to irritate me. He came back for a visit and everything was awesome. And I understand, it's good. You see, where I'm from, when he says it's awesome, being from Lancashire, we go, it's all right. It's okay. But what I mean is, it's awesome. So when I say God is awesome, I've gone so many levels above my comfort zone, but I recognise he's awesome. That's what you have to fear. Fear the elephants. Fear that which is more powerful than you. John White says, I'm full of fears and chasms of inferiority. Whenever I've listened to the enemy pointing them out, I've stopped working for the kingdom. Yet in those moments when I've refused to listen to him and I've feebly walked in obedience, I have been astonished at what God has done with my feeble performance. Don't listen to your fears. Step out, do what God's done. If you read the parable of the sower about scattering the seeds, if you have a fear that what you're sowing is not going to bear fruit, if you have a fear that it's not going to grow, that you're not putting enough effort in, or that you put too much in and you would never do anything. You would be like John White, I'm full of fears and chasms of inferiority. I just won't do it. But we live by faith, not by sight. That's what it says in the Bible. We live by faith, not by sight. Once again, that verse in the Amplified is so much more. We live by faith, not by sight. Here's the Amplified. For we walk by faith, we regulate our lives and conduct ourselves by our conviction or belief respecting man's relationship to God and divine things. With trust and holy fervour, thus we walk, not by sight or appearance. I like that bit, not by sight or appearance. Don't judge anybody by what they look like. When I was younger, you had to be in fashion. Now, whatever you want. Crocs that are all cool. We love you for that. I think it's brilliant. I don't judge by appearances. I'm going to rush now. I'm going to have to rush because I don't know how it's managed to go this so long. So I apologise. Faith in Christ Jesus. He says, I tell you the truth, no one can see the kingdom of God unless he is born again. And later on he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. 3 questions. Do you believe? Are you willing to enter through the narrow gate? Is Jesus the shepherd and Lord and King in your life? It's dead simple. If the answer is yes, stop worrying about anything. It's over. Everyone who believes may have eternal life. Why? Because it tells me he will. Jesus tells me, whoever believes in him is not condemned. Whoever does not believe stands condemned already. We don't have to do anything. God is our provider. He's our strength. In Philippians it says, my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Not through anything we've done. Not because we have worked hard to be the best looking or the cleverest or the thinnest or the fastest. No. No. According to his glorious riches. There's a bit in the Bible, Luke 12. Just go and read it. It says, don't worry. Don't worry about food. Don't worry. God feeds us. Yeah? You can't add an hour to your life. You ask the question, why do you worry? God's going to provide the clothes. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. And then it says this, the Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. And then later on it says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And I've just hit the conclusion. So here we go. The conclusion is this, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Roosevelt said that. Another one, fear closes the ears of the mind. If you listen to the world, you'll stop looking at God and you'll start looking to the things that frighten you, the things that bring fear into your life. You are beloved children of God, and God, your Father, will look after you. He will not abandon you. David wrote many psalms. Most of them, when I read them, are from a point of view of, save me, Lord. I am so frightened. My enemies surround me. He feels abandoned, and yet, even in this, he turns to God. Why? Because he knows God can do this. God can deliver him from these situations. He feels overwhelmed sometimes. I read it in Psalms, and I think, he still cries out because he knows that his fear is not greater than his God. David, like Joshua, was bold and courageous, and we should be too. I'm going to finish with one last Bible verse, and then we'll pray and close and have some coffee. Okay? I'm reading from the Amplified. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, of cowardice, of craven and cringing and fawning fear. But he has given us a spirit of power and of love and of calm and well-balanced mind and discipline and self-control. When you start to feel fearful, you can stop yourself. You can say to yourself, why? I think I've said this before, what, why and how. This is my cure to everything. If you ask me a question, if you come with a problem, I'll say what, why and how. Okay? What am I frightened of? That's the first thing. What am I frightened of? Why am I frightened of it? Have I experienced this terrible thing? Why am I frightened of tigers? Have I been in a cage with a tiger before? No. But I know to be frightened of them. So I know what it is. I'm frightened of tigers. I know why I am, because it's got big teeth. And how am I going to deal with this? I'm going to keep away from tigers, unless they're in a cage. We have self-control. Somebody says, are you afraid of the dark? Well, I know what I am. I am afraid of the dark. I don't know why, because somebody turned the light out when I was 3 years old and left me for 6 hours in the pitch black. And how am I going to deal with this situation now? This is the point where you choose now whether to sin or not. How am I going to do that? I'm going to tell you. Yeah, actually, I am. I am frightened of the dark, because when I was 3 years old, they locked me in a cupboard and I was there for 6 hours and it was freezing cold and I don't like the dark now. Or are you going to go, oh, I'm not afraid of the dark? You have a well-balanced mind. You have discipline, you have self-control. Fear can lead to sin if you're not careful. And we have lots of little fears. I don't like my peas touching my potatoes. You know, I'm just throwing, these are not my fears, I'm just throwing them out there. There's little simple things in life, you know what I mean? Oh, the knife's not, the knife has to be this way up, because otherwise I worry that I might cut myself, or all sorts of little things. God did not give us a spirit of timidity, of cowardice, of craven and cringing and fawning fear, but he has given us a spirit of power and of love